Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Moe, aka Swedish Whiskey Girl, and today we are here with my little bottle of Blue Label. So this is a Johnnie Walker whiskey. It's a blended Scotch whiskey, meaning that it is a combination of grain whiskey and also single malts. They're all blended together. Although they haven't put an age statement on this bottle or kind of told you what the ages are or what the distilleries that they've used, you can kind of expect it to be from Cardew, maybe Clynelish. I think they've said also Ben Rinnes and some Islay distilleries, amongst others. And of course, the way this is marketed is that there are some higher end whiskies in it, some older whiskies that are maybe over 20 years, maybe older. Who knows? It is at 40%. And what I find quite fascinating about Blue Label is that the Johnnie Walker brand has managed to position a non-age statement blended whiskey as quite a luxury goods. I am very fortunate to be in a world where people don't necessarily look at age or on different factors to just decide if they like the whiskey or not. But then I do know that there's a lot of people that would look at non-age statement whiskies and not really want to give them a go, especially if they're quite expensive. This retails at, I think, £140, and a sample bottle sells at, I think, is it like a tenner or £12 here in the UK? But it's, yeah, I think, to me, it fascinates me how this has managed to position itself the way it has. Me and Cody has been watching a lot of old Formula One, and we're watching a not documentary on Netflix about Formula One now, and Johnnie Walker used to be a big sponsor for them, but I think it's been removed now due to the kind of contrast between that you have drivers and then you're also promoting alcohol. But I know other brands have started promoting their non-alcoholic liquids, so maybe we'll see a 0% Johnnie Walker at some point, who knows. But it's, yeah, quite fascinating, and some of my favourite whiskey ads are the ones with, what's his name? Jude Law. That is for Blue Label, and they've done this kind of really lovely style in it, and it's almost like a story, and I really like those. So if you like that kind of vibe, check them out. But it's, yeah, probably a little bit out of my price range for whiskies that I normally tend to go for. But then again, it's also, at least the way I see it, it's positioned itself to be a whiskey you would give as a gift to someone, or that suits people that are way richer than I am for buying something that they see as higher quality because it's positioned itself as a luxury goods. And then maybe people, I mean, some people I know who've tried it wouldn't say that they think the flavour matches up to the price, but that's going to be the thing with everything. There's always going to be a whiskey that you might like, but for the price it's a little bit too much. So yeah, it's interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Do you like Blue Label? What do you think about the whole kind of branding about it, or the way it's positioned itself? Because I know some whiskies, we kind of need them to be there, because if not, if all whiskey was just the same, then it wouldn't really be fun to get someone like a special bottle or something like that. But enough talking, let's have a little nose of it. The first thing I'm getting is tropical fruits. I'm just trying to figure out what. I think it makes me think of yellow tropical fruits, so I'm guessing like a little bit of mango maybe. Maybe some pineapple. It has a certain note about it. It's kind of golden tropical fruit that you tend to find in older whiskies. It really makes me so curious to see what the recipe is like, because I know sometimes if you have a whiskey that is maybe a little bit overaged, you can add younger spirit to it to kind of even out the balance. So I don't know if this is primarily older whiskey or a bit of mix, but it's a lovely nose. It's quite smooth, like nothing feels harsh or aggressive. I also wonder how old the grain whiskey is, because old grain whiskey is often really, really nice. Or at least I've been lucky with the ones I've tried. It's primarily that fruitiness that comes out, but I wouldn't say it feels one-dimensional. It still feels like that fruitiness is very alive, even though it's quite smooth. And it's surrounded by a touch of sweet floral notes and a soft oakiness. But for me, it's definitely the fruitiness that stands out the most, and now that golden tropical note also gives space for a bit of green apples. My nose is whistling a little bit. I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear it and it annoys me a little bit. I'm looking for the smoke, but I'm not getting it that much. It's maybe if I think about it and really look for it, you can get some kind of charred notes, but I wouldn't say that's one of the things I'm picking up the most, even when I'm looking for it. But let's have a taste. Sláinte Skål. Quite a rich mouthfeel. Going from the nose, I maybe was anticipating it to be a bit less rich, but it's still quite smooth. The woodiness comes out more on the palate, but not in an unpleasant way. It just balances out the fruitiness without just being what you would expect from a whiskey like this, I think. Because the fruitiness itself, if you only had that, it would be a bit one-dimensional, but adding the woodiness that comes in, and the woodiness also feels like some 20-ish whiskies I've tried, and that's like 20-year-old-ish whiskies I've tried recently that have this kind of refined woodiness, which is very interesting. Oh, that's also a bit like cinnamon. Just a little bit. Yeah, I would still say it's not aggressive or harsh at all. And I think, from what I've heard from my friends that have tried it, or I think if you are in a situation where this bottle is being presented as a luxury good and you try it and it's this kind of rich and smooth spirit, you can really, really appreciate it for what it is. But I think if you're buying a bottle and you're expecting grand things because of the price, it is quite smooth. So if you are someone who's looking for more of a character peeking out, or kind of being a little bit more aggressive, you might think that this isn't something that is just wowing you, even though I personally think it's really lovely because it is quite rich and it also has that smooth note, but those flavours are really lovely. It's such a difference, because I think if I'm in a mood for something really exciting and something that kind of stands out, maybe something with a cask influence that's quite weird and quirky, because I tend to like that a lot of the time, this might feel like it's not pushing the boundaries enough, but I also I don't think it's trying to do that, so it's tricky to know. I guess you have to kind of be in the right mood for it, as well as all other whiskies. Also has almost like a lemongrass note. It's slightly grassy, but it's a very, very silky grassiness instead of like drying or bitter grassiness. There is a bitterness there. I think that belongs more to the wood, or like the spiciness from the wood. But it's very soft, and this kind of lemongrass, it feels almost herby, which is probably why I'm saying lemongrass, and almost a bit citrusy. Yeah, so it kind of just, there is things coming up every time I try it that there's like, oh, what's that? And then you can kind of pick them out. Because it still has enough of the bitter and the wood to give it a good base to stand on, so the fruitiness can kind of have its own little life, and the finish is nice. It's not super long, but it is lasting, if that makes sense. It's more like you still have the memory of the flavour in your mouth, even though it hasn't grabbed onto you. And I do think you can get more of a charred note, maybe in, like with the wood, that might be from that smoky component in it. But then also, you don't know if the smoky whiskey from Islay, if that is an old whiskey, because of course with age, some of the smoky whiskies can kind of, what's it called, like tone down the smoke, and then sometimes when you try old Islay whiskey that is 20 years old and maybe 30 years old, you can actually get this really big tropical fruitiness because you get the spirit but with less smoke in it because the cask is kind of taken over. I don't know if it's just that it's, for me, I think the malt components, no, that's not what I'm trying to say, the malt contents in this is probably higher than your maybe more affordable blends that might be like 80% grain and 20% single malts, because this tastes more like a malt whiskey to me, or an older malt whiskey, than it does an old grain whiskey. And I mean, I love an old grain whiskey, so I do not mind that at all. I almost would want it to be a little bit more grain whiskey, but I don't think the average, like the general public would, because it's not, it doesn't have that old grain whiskey sweetness to it. It more has like a fruitiness that is sweet. I mean, I'd say I really enjoy it. It's smooth, it's rich. I think, looking at this, I think this is exactly what they're trying to be. And then I guess everyone can have their opinions on that. And just from like an egotistical, is that what it's called, point of view, I wish it was more affordable so I can buy it more often. But then I guess having a dram that you can kind of save for a moment. But if I'm going for something special, I might just go for a single cask, so it just depends on the mood. I'm sure you guys understand that. Now it's more grassy and herby and woody, cinnamony, but with the fruitiness underneath it. But I mean, I'd love to hear what you think of Johnnie Walker Blue if you've tried it, or what you think of the other Johnnie Walkers. I think a lot of people have said they like the green, and I will try and find the green so I can try that as well. And if you're interested in it, I thought I could maybe do, if I get hold of the green, I could maybe do a Johnnie Walker comparison. Try the red, the black, I have the gold at home, the blue, and the Song of Ice, Song of Fire, and the green, if I get hold of it. I don't know if you also want to see the double black and the platinum, but I mean, let me know what you'd like to see in the comments below. And of course, if you do like this video and would like to support the channel, I'd be absolutely over the moon if you consider using my affiliate links the next time you're shopping with either Master Malt, the Whisky Exchange, or the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. All that information is, as usual, in the description here below, as well as links to my other social channels if you're curious about those. As always, I want to say a massive thank you to my wonderful supporters on Patreon. I'm so grateful to have you guys with me on my whiskey journey. But I hope you've all had an absolutely wonderful day. Sláinte Skål!